You think you know it scares you? Not really. The fear sitting in your chest right now, the one that wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, it isn't yours. It's just borrowed. What's 200,000 years old and is still running the show? So what did the first humans actually fear? Not what you'd guess. Lions, leopards, the dark, those mattered. But the deepest fear our ancestors carried wasn't about claws or teeth. It was something quieter, something that could kill you without ever touching you. Let's build this from the ground up. Look at the coast of South Africa, at a place called Pinnacle Point Cave. An archaeologist named Curtis Marion spent years excavating it. And what he found pushed back the timeline of modern human behavior by tens of thousands of years. People were living there roughly 160,000 years ago, eating shellfish using ochre, a red pigment ground from rock, possibly for symbolic marking. They were thinking, planning, already afraid of things that hadn't happened yet. That's the first clue. Fear for early humans wasn't only reactive, it was predictive. A lion in the grass is a problem you solve in the moment. A bad winter 6 months away is a problem you can only solve by imagining it. Imagination and fear evolved together. You can't have one without the other. Look at the predator problem itself. Early Homo sapiens were not the apex hunters you might picture. They were mid-sized primates without claws, without fangs, without much speed. Hyenas could outrun them. Big cats could outclimb them. Marion's research suggests coastal caves were valuable precisely because they offered a defensible choke point. One entrance, easy to watch, easy to defend. Shelter wasn't comfort, shelter was survival math. Did fear of predators shape where people slept? Almost certainly. Did it shape how they slept? That's where it gets interesting because a sleeping human is a vulnerable human. No alertness, no defense, just stillness in the dark. Anthropologists who study modern hunter-gatherer groups, including communities like the Hadza in Tanzania, have noticed something curious. People in these groups often sleep lightly, waking multiple times through the night, especially near the fire's edge. That's not poor sleep, that's a feature, not a bug. Thousands of generations of night watching built directly into the nervous system. So darkness was frightening, predators were frightening. But here's the question worth sitting with. Were they the worst fear? A researcher named Robin Dunbar, an evolutionary psychologist, spent decades studying something called the social brain hypothesis. The basic idea is this: primate brains didn't get bigger mainly to solve physical problems like tool use or hunting. They got bigger to manage relationships. Who's an ally? Who is a threat? Who owes who a favor? For early humans living in small bands of maybe 30 to 50 people, your survival depended almost entirely on staying inside that group. Now imagine being cast out of it. No weapon stockpile, no solo food storage, no way to fight off a hyena pack alone at night. Expulsion from the group wasn't just an insult, it was very literally a death sentence with a built-in delay. Dunbar's work suggests this is why social pain registers in the brain almost identically to physical pain. Being excluded doesn't just feel bad. It activates the same alarm system as a physical wound. This reframes everything. The lion in the grass was terrifying, yes, but it was a fear you could see coming and run from. The fear of being unwanted, unwelcome, quietly edged out of the circle around the fire, that one had no shape. You couldn't outrun it, you couldn't outfight it. All you could do was behave in ways that kept you inside the group. Let's go somewhere else for a moment. A cave in northern Iraq called Shanidar. In the 1950s, an archaeologist named Ralph Seletsky uncovered Neanderthal remains there, including one individual who had survived for years with a missing forearm and significant injuries that would have made him useless as a hunter. He couldn't have survived alone. Someone fed him, someone protected him. The group carried him. Picture that scene for a second. Firelight flickering against rock walls. A small group huddled close, sharing warmth, sharing food, watching the tree line beyond the cave mouth. Somewhere in that circle sits a man who cannot hunt, cannot run, cannot defend himself. And yet he is still there, still inside the circle. What does that tell you? It tells you the deepest terror wasn't injury, it wasn't even death, not exactly. It was disconnection, being the one left outside the firelight, being the one the group quietly decides not to carry anymore. Here's the twist, and it should genuinely surprise you. Our ancestors were primarily wired to fear predators, starvation, or the dark. Those were real, immediate. But they were also solvable through action. Weapons, shelter, vigilance. What they couldn't engineer their way out of was the threat of social exclusion. And because that fear couldn't be solved with tools, evolution solved it with emotion instead. Anxiety about reputation, the gut-wrenching feeling of being ignored or talked about behind your back. These aren't modern inventions. They are ancient survival software still installed, still running. Now look at your own life. You're not worried about lions. You don't lie awake replaying a predator encounter from yesterday. But you might lie awake replaying a text message you sent that didn't get a reply, a meeting where you said something slightly awkward, a group chat that you were quietly left out of. That feeling, the sick discomfort of social uncertainty, is the exact same circuitry that once meant the difference between living inside the firelit circle at Shanidar or freezing alone outside it. Your brain hasn't caught up to the fact that getting unfollowed online isn't a death sentence. As far as your nervous system is concerned, the algorithm hasn't gotten the memo either. This is why public speaking ranks in survey after survey among people's most common fears, often above heights, above flying, sometimes above death itself. Standing in front of a group and risking their judgment taps directly into that 200,000-year-old alarm. What if they decide I don't belong here? It's also why being left out, even in small, almost invisible ways, can hit harder than logic says it should. A missed invitation, a joke you weren't in on, none of it threatens your physical survival, yet all of it triggers a response built for a world where it absolutely did. So the next time that feeling shows up, the tight chest before sending a message, the spiral after a social slight, the dread before walking into a room full of strangers, you can name it for what it actually is. Not weakness, not oversensitivity, just an old fear doing exactly what it evolved to do in a world it was never built for. You think you know what scares you? You don't, not entirely. But now you know where it came from, and maybe that's the first step to finally putting it down.